Welcome to a journey back to the summer of 1980, a time when a low-budget independent film unleashed a new wave of terror upon unsuspecting audiences and birthed one of cinema's most enduring boogeymen. Our story doesn't begin in 1980, but rather in 1958, at the infamous Camp Crystal Lake. Two young counselors, Barry and Claudette, sneak away from a campfire sing-along for a romantic rendezvous in a supply shed. Their illicit tryst is brutally interrupted by an unseen assailant, who murders them both. This chilling prologue immediately establishes the camp as a place of tragedy and violence, hinting at a dark past that will inevitably resurface. It's a classic slasher setup, teaching us that premarital sex in horror movies often leads to dire consequences. Fast forward to Friday, June 13, 1979. A new group of eager, unsuspecting teenage counselors are on their way to Camp Crystal Lake, hoping to reopen it after decades of closure. Among them is Annie, a cook, who hitches a ride with a truck driver named Enos. Enos, a local, warns her about the camp's troubled history, recounting the tragic drowning of a young boy named Jason Voorhees in 1957, an event he attributes to the negligence of the counselors. He also mentions the unsolved murders of the two counselors in 1958, and a series of subsequent incidents that kept the camp shuttered. This exposition serves as a dramatic foreshadowing, building suspense and educating the audience about the cursed legacy of Crystal Lake. Annie, however, is determined to make it to the camp, unaware that she's driving straight into a nightmare. Annie's journey takes a terrifying turn when she accepts a ride from an unseen person in a Jeep. As they pass the camp entrance, Annie's instincts scream danger, and she leaps from the moving vehicle, fleeing into the dense woods. But her escape is short-lived. The mysterious driver pursues her, and in a chilling sequence, Annie's throat is brutally slashed. This is the first on-screen kill of the film, a stark reminder that the danger is real and present, and that no one is safe. It's a scary and dramatic moment that signals the true beginning of the horror. Meanwhile, the main group of counselors arrives at Camp Crystal Lake, oblivious to Annie's fate and the camp's bloody history. We meet a cast of archetypal slasher characters: Ned, Jack, played by a young Kevin Bacon, Bill, Marcy, Brenda, and Alice. They're a lively bunch, full of youthful exuberance, ready to refurbish the cabins and prepare for the incoming campers. Alice, along with the camp owner Steve Christie, works diligently, while the others engage in typical teenage summer camp activities. The atmosphere is initially lighthearted, a stark contrast to the impending doom. This setup is crucial for building a false sense of security, making the subsequent attacks even more shocking and effective. The film cleverly uses these moments of normalcy to heighten the tension, knowing that the audience is aware of the lurking danger. As a thunderstorm rolls in, adding to the ominous atmosphere, camp owner Steve Christie leaves for supplies, unknowingly leaving his young counselors vulnerable. The idyllic summer camp quickly transforms into a hunting ground. The killer, still unseen, begins to pick off the counselors one by one. Ned, ever the prankster, sees a cloaked figure and follows, only to become the killer's next victim. His dead body is later discovered by Jack and Marcy, who are enjoying a moment of intimacy in a bunk bed. The scene is a classic slasher trope, punishing youthful indiscretion with brutal efficiency. Marcy, after leaving the cabin, meets a gruesome end in the public bathroom, dispatched with an axe. The kills are increasingly creative and shocking, designed to elicit maximum terror from the audience. Brenda, after playing a board game with Alice and Bill, is lured outside by a child's voice calling for help. She ventures towards the archery range, where the floodlights suddenly turn on, illuminating her impending doom. These moments are not just scary, they are dramatic, building a relentless sense of dread as the body count rises and the remaining counselors realize they are not alone. Alice, hearing Brenda's distant scream, grows increasingly worried. She and Bill decide to investigate, only to find a bloodied axe in Brenda's bed and the phones disconnected. The realization dawns on them: they are isolated, and someone is hunting them. The tension ratchets up as Steve Christie, the camp owner, returns, only to be brutally stabbed by the unseen killer at the camp's entrance. When the power goes out, Bill bravely goes to check on the generator, leaving Alice alone. She later finds his body pinned to a door with arrows, a gruesome display of the killer's brutality. Terrified and alone, Alice flees to the main cabin, barricading herself inside. But the killer is relentless, hurling Brenda's lifeless body through a window, a shocking and scary moment designed to break Alice's spirit. Just when all hope seems lost, a middle-aged woman, Mrs. Voorhees, arrives at the camp, claiming to be a friend of the Christies. She appears calm and maternal, offering comfort to the distraught Alice. This seemingly benign arrival is the setup for the film's most iconic and dramatic twist. In a chilling monologue, Mrs. Voorhees, played with terrifying intensity by Betsy Palmer, reveals the true motive behind the murders. She explains that it's her son, Jason, whose birthday it is, and that he was the young boy who drowned in Crystal Lake in 1957. She blames his death on the negligent counselors who were too busy having sex to supervise him. Her calm facade shatters, revealing a deranged, grief-stricken mother consumed by a thirst for revenge. This is the shocking twist that redefined the slasher genre. The killer isn't a hulking, masked figure, but a seemingly ordinary woman, driven to madness by loss. Mrs. Voorhees, now fully unhinged, brutally attacks Alice. Alice flees, discovering the bodies of Annie and Steve along the way, confirming the full extent of the massacre. The chase through the camp is relentless, a terrifying cat-and-mouse game where Alice is fighting for her life against a deranged killer. The dramatic tension is palpable, as Alice, the final girl, must confront the source of all the horror. The final confrontation between Alice and Mrs. Voorhees takes place on the lakeshore, a brutal, desperate struggle for survival. Alice, pushed to her absolute limit, manages to gain the upper hand. In a shocking and visceral moment, she decapitates Mrs. Voorhees with her own machete, ending the reign of terror. This is a dramatic and satisfying, yet still disturbing, conclusion to the immediate threat. Alice, exhausted and traumatized, seeks refuge in a canoe, drifting out onto the seemingly peaceful lake, and finally succumbs to sleep. As dawn breaks, the police arrive, and Alice is safe, or so it seems. But Friday the 13th has one last, unforgettable scare in store. As Alice is being rescued, the decomposing corpse of young Jason Voorhees suddenly erupts from the lake, dragging Alice underwater in a terrifying jump scare. Alice then awakens in a hospital, surrounded by medical staff, and is told that there was no sign of a boy in the lake. Her chilling reply, "Then he's still there," leaves the audience with a profound sense of unease and the terrifying implication that the horror is far from over. This iconic ending not only cemented the film's place in horror history but also set the stage for the legendary franchise that would follow, introducing Jason Voorhees as the true, immortal boogeyman of Camp Crystal Lake. Did you know that the iconic jump scare ending, where Jason emerges from the lake, was not in the original script? It was suggested by special effects artist Tom Savini, who wanted to give the audience one last jolt. Director Sean S. Cunningham loved the idea, and it was shot on the very last day of filming, becoming one of the most famous and influential jump scares in horror cinema history. If you braved the horrors of Camp Crystal Lake with us, please hit that like button, share this video with your fellow horror fanatics, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the films that haunt our nightmares. Thanks for watching.